Good morning, everybody. I'm Micheline from Americana Long Arm Quilting. We do custom quilting and long arming, and you can find a link to our website in the description below. Today, we're going to turn all of these little tiny scraps into these beautiful blocks. Oops, here we go. Those beautiful blocks. Now I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, y'all. So January comes around, and what is it that we want to do? We want to clean our workspace, our sewing space. We want to clear out some of our scraps. We want to utilize all those things we've been saving all year long. And that's what I wanted to do too. So I took a look around Pinterest and YouTube, and I got some ideas, and I said, that's what I want to do. You know, I've made scrappy quilts before where it's just completely scraps. That's a little bit busy for me. I think it's a really fun look. It's just a little bit busy for me. So I liked finding a quilt, a block that had this unifying color that kind of broke up the scrappiness a little bit. And that's where this comes about. So this unifying color kind of breaks up your scraps just a little bit and brings everything together to play nice together. And I like that. So here is our block. This is just a simple thing to do. The strips are 1.5 inches wide, and you need a lot of these strips to make these blocks. Each one of these blocks, you put 4 of these blocks together to make this block. Okay? And each one of these big blocks takes about 3.5 yards of strips. So when I say you need a lot of strips, you need a lot of strips. Okay, so we get them all sewn together, and then we're going to put them into a quilt. Let me get to showing you how I create all of these strips. Okay? Okay, let's get serious about making some strip pieces here. As you can see, I've got this enormous pile of just pieces of fabric, okay? And I'm just going to pull out some things here that I think might look fun. Let's see here. These are already done strips. Let me get those out of the way. Okay, here we go. So I've got this nice big piece right here. I think we're going to add this guy to it. And this is the thing. You just start adding stuff, okay? That's one. I like this piece. He's a nice piece. Let's put him in here. He will just fit. And this is the thing. You don't really want to take too much time thinking about what goes together and what you want to see, because this is a scrap quilt. This is just fun sewing. Okay. Now, I would continue to chain piece. I would continue picking up pieces and putting them together. But I am just going to kind of show you, like I've already gotten several pieces here. Let's see. Let's put another one with it here. I know that I am not going to get 2 strips of 1.5 inches out of this width. So I'm okay taking a piece like this and putting him on the end and sewing him in there, okay? So let me show you that. And you can see he's kind of a funny shape. That's okay. I might add a few more pieces onto this end and then press that, but we'll just go with the pressing now, okay? So I'm just gonna press. It doesn't matter which way the seams go. You can press them open if you so desire, if you want to take the time to press them open. I don't think you need to, and that would be a whole lot of pressing on pressing seams open on this one. So I've pressed that nice and flat. Now we'll take it over and cut it into a strip. Let's do a few more on this one. I think I had some other pieces that were this long started. I thought I did. I thought I did. Maybe I don't. Well, that's okay. We'll put a couple of these little tiny ones that are 1 3/4 inches, I think. We'll put one of these on this end. because that'll cut down to the right size, correct? And let's take the same one we put on that one. He will fit on the end right here. Okay. Let's see here. Where's some other pretty ones? Like him. Goodness gracious. Got pieces just all over the places. All over the place. Ah, here's the blue. So when you're doing this, you do want to keep in mind that you want your colors dispersed. So that's why I was kind of looking for where did that blue go, because I wanted a little bit more blue in that area. And maybe a green. Here we go. So here's a piece that I had started earlier. And now I've got this piece. Let's sew the two of them together. And then that'll be a piece that we can take to the cutting board and cut into strips. I would suggest before you take anything to the cutting board to cut, that you press it, that you press the seams, because if you don't press the seams, you're not going to get a nice straight cut, and your 1.5 inch strips are going to kind of go all over the place. So all I'm doing is just pressing the seams to one side. Again, it does not matter what side you press them to. Okay, I think that's the one I already did. Let's get this guy over here. He needs to be cut in half. So I'm just going to kind of fold him over like that and trim him. Okay. Now, not only can you make pieces like this that are just this wide, and I don't know if I've got any more fabric in here that's, there's one. You can take strips like this. Let's see if I've got another one in here. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. This is a nice long one. Okay, so we're going to put these two together the long ways. Okay. Now, let's see if I can find another long strip. Should have had these found in advance, huh? Here we go. Right. Oh, that's brown as well. Let's see here. It is always fun looking back through, there they are, your fabric, because you can go, oh, that's that quilt I did that with, you know. Okay. So now I'm just going to kind of finger press that open. There we go. Had a little wobble there. Okay. I'm just going to kind of finger press that open just a bit. And I'm going to take another one of these long pieces that I have, and I'm going to put it right here. Okay. Let's see if I can find another one. These pieces are from my log cabin quilt that I enjoyed doing so much. So these are really fun for me to see again because I enjoyed doing that log cabin quilt so much. All right. Now, I would go on and on and on, adding to this as much as I could, but for our purposes, I'm just going to show you this much. So I've got these sewn together, and I'm going to press them. Let's just go ahead and press it all nice and flat. Okay. I'm starting on the back, and then I'll flip it over on the front, just so that the back kind of stays down a little bit. Okay. Here we go. Okay, So now that's nicely pressed. Now we're going to take this over to the cutting board and we're going to cut 1.5-inch strips. See why this takes so long to make so many of these? Let me go and do that. Okay, so here are our pieces that we worked with just a minute ago. Let's start with this guy right here. Let's clean my space up a little bit here. Okay. I'm going to go with this ruler right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up one of my dark lines on my ruler along one of these seams, just so that I know that I'm starting fairly straight. Okay. All right. My left hand needs to turn this around, and I'm gonna again line that line up right there and line that up on the 1.5-inch mark and just make cuts. And then I would take this back over, or I will take this back over to the sewing machine, and we'll sew them together in different positions with different pieces of fabric that I've already got sewn together. Okay, so out of those 4 little pieces, I've got 6 small strips done. Okay, now let's take this guy right here, and I kind of want to go as close to this longer side as I can, because then I will get a longer strip. So I just took a little tiny piece off that, and now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go 1.5 inches from that edge. I've lined it up on in a couple of places with those seams, and now I'm just going to turn it this way and cut off that angle. And see, then when I go over to the machine, I can sew him to that. All right. Let's do, now this is the one that's a little tiny piece, and you can see, I don't know if you can see there, he's curving a little bit. Didn't do a great job sewing that one together. So I'm gonna kind of go like that. Take as small a piece as I can off this one side so that I know that side is straight, and then I'll have enough room to clean up that other side. And there we go. That one's done. Okay, let's take this one. Now this one's wider than I need it by quite a bit, and that's okay. All right, I've got a side lined up. There we go. Flip it around. And oopsies. Don't move it. And there's your waist, but you know, that's okay. A lot of people keep those size waists for things like pet beds. Okay. Now I'm going to do that thing again where I want to go to the furthest side, to the longest side. I want to cut off just a little bit of that longest side. That way when I turn it around, I can get the most out of this cut. Can you imagine how much of that I would need to make a pet bed for one of my dogs? It would weigh 400 pounds if I tried to utilize all that for one of my Great Danes. Okay, here we go. That one's done. And then this little guy right here. Again, I'm going to line up one of my lines on one of the seams. Down like that. Okay. There we go. All right. Now those are all ready to be sewn together with other pieces, and then we'll get to sewing them into the block. So I've got a whole bucket full of those 1.5 strips. You can see I've created a lot of those. That's done. So the next thing we need to do is cut our background fabric. Now this one happens to be one of our 108 fabrics. This is Shadow by Oasis Fabrics. We have this available on our website to do the backing of your quilts, or do something like this with it. Now, because it is a longer fabric, this 24-inch ruler is not really making it all the whole length that I needed to, so I really can't use my grid here. The dogs are on point this morning. So what I've done is I've put my other little ruler here to give myself, okay, Bullet, that's enough, to give myself the width that I need. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut that. I'll scoot this ruler up. Boy, Bullet is really being a pill, isn't he? Okay, got that cut. Scoot that out of the way. Bullet. Hey. Shh. They don't understand Mommy's filming. Okay, now I'm going to bring it this way, trim off this edge. Now I'm going to line it up on the cutting mat, and we're going to trim off that edge. Good. So the dogs and I are sequestered into the workroom today because there's somebody in my house installing a bookshelf. So they certainly don't need to be in there bothering him. Okay, so I cut this at about 8.5 inches just so I would have plenty of room. Hi, Ranger. Yes, I know. You're bored. Can I have my hand back? So I'm going to find where my 8.5 inches is. It's right about this line right there. Goodness gracious. Never a dull moment in this workroom. Okay. I'll just do that one piece for now. Now I'm going to, this is a very important part. Bullet, no more. This is a very important part. You see how I'm taking the time to flip them all in the same direction? Because when I make my arbitrary cuts in here, I don't want them to be mirror images. I want them to all be in the same way. Hi, Willow. Thank you for the kisses. You're so sweet. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some cuts. And I don't want them to be all that precise. They don't have to be measured to a certain, they don't have to all be the same. I want them to not match, okay? But I do kind of want them straight. So that's one thing. So there's a couple of cuts. I'm going to go over here about yay far. So I'm getting them fairly straight. I'm just not getting them like this is a little bit wider from here, from the center point to here than it is from the center point to there. That's okay. And the same thing on these sides. It doesn't matter where the cut is. Just kind of get them in about the same location. Okay. Now, there's 4 there, and that's what I need. So I'm just now going to put that like this. And I'm going to take this and this over to the machine, and I'm going to attach some of this to all of this. Okay. I've got my block, my background fabric. I've got the 4 blocks that I'll need to do 1 mega block, all separated here. I've got my box of scraps sewn together. Let me find an end. Where's an end? Okay, here's an end. Oh, they're my glasses. They're on my head. Okay, got that. Now I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to put this down, put him over the top of him, and I want to extend past this edge of my triangle a little bit, because he's got to sew onto this piece, right? And if I put him at the very end of my scrap piece and then tried to sew him together there, okay, it would be too short. Let me see. It would be this way. Okay, so here. If I tried to sew my scrap piece onto the very edge of that first triangle and then went to sew the next piece on, that scrap piece wouldn't come to that edge. So I've got to move him over here a little bit so it'll work, okay? All right. So it's easier if you put the scrap piece on the bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and get that needle buried, okay? And then I'm going to put my top piece. like so. Okay, there's one. And now, so since I sewed it to this side of this one, I'm going to sew it to this side of this one. Okay. And again, give it a little bit of space in between the two of them. And I would do all of these and then all of these and then all of these, but I'm just showing you one at a time. Okay, the next one is this one, and I want it sewn to this side. Give it that space it needs in between. Okay, and the last one is this one, and I'm going to sew it to this side. Okay. Okay. Cut that off. Now let's see how much of that we use. Look at that. We used about 1 yard just to do the one block. Okay. That's why you need about 3.5 yards to do the whole thing. Now I'm going to cut them in half, or separate them, put them back where they belong. So, okay, now we're going to do some pressing. All right, first things we're going to do is press the seam nice and flat. Okay, because of those strips, you do kind of have to manipulate it a little bit. Now I've pressed that nice and flat. Now I'm going to roll this guy back and press that flat. Okay, now he's flat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the center. So I'll do this over here. There's my piece. I'm going to fold him in half so these bottom parts match. Right down there at the bottom, right? And then I'm going to make a crease right there, because that's going to need to be sewn to the next piece. So he's got a nice crease in him so that you'll be able to see that. Now I'm going to do the same thing to this guy. Okay. Let's roll him back. Okay. I'm going to fold him over. Find where that center is. And this time I'm going to make a crease on both sides, because I'll have to sew one side to this one and one side to this one. So I've got a crease now in both sides. You can see that one. All right, let's do this one. Okay. I just love all the little tiny pieces of scraps. I just think that's so cute. I'm glad the dogs calmed down. Boy, they were crazy a minute ago. Okay. Okay, got my creases in that one, so I'll be able to see that. One more like this. There we go. Make my seams on the back go all the same direction. Not all the same direction, but see, like that one's flipped over. I don't like that. That'll create bulk when we go to sew it in the quilt. So now they're all going the right way. Now I will flip that over. Okay, let's make our creases on both sides. Patch that up. All right. Side. That side. That back. And now we need a little crease in this one too. Okay. And this doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Because we are going to be trimming these down. Now I'm going to take this one where the crease is. I know you can't see it, but it's right there. And I'm going to match that to this crease, like so. And I'm going to sew that together. Okay, well, we've got some chain piecing availability. We're going to take these two that are on the other side, and I'm going to match that crease to that crease. Okay. Two. And see what I mean by having to make that a little bit longer? I should have made this piece ever so slightly larger. I'm going to show you why. Put the center on the crease. Okay. And I just have a teeny tiny excess. So that was close. But again, I am going to be trimming these back, so that should be just fine. Okay. Okay. Now, let's press these two. Okay. So again, we're going to press that seam right there, set our seam, and then I'm going to just roll it back. But I'm going to be careful not to hit where I put that crease in on that side, because I need that crease there to do the next step, which is to add hem to it. Okay. Let's do this one while we're working on it. Now, this one is, I'm going to have to be really careful with him because that crease is right there and I don't want to hit it. Okay. He goes on that side. Let's do this one first. So I'm going to bring this over here. Here's my crease. Here's my crease on this one. Match the two up. And see, that time I had lots of extra fabric, so that makes it easier. Okay. That side's done. We'll go ahead and press it. It's easier to press it when you don't have as much fabric to get out of your way. Okay, so there's half of it done. Now let's do this last piece. Let's spin that around. Find my crease. Right there. Here we go. Okay. Here we are. Now I don't have to worry about my creases anymore. And I'm just going to press that nice and flat. And then it'll be time to go over and cut it. But before I do that, let me get the rest of that set of 4 done. And then we'll go cut it. So let me show you how to cut these down. They're in a very funny shape. That's why I cut them a little bit bigger than what I need them. Okay, so I want them to finish 7.5 inches. So that is, this ruler is an 8-inch ruler. So this orange part here is that 1/2 inch that I am going to be taking off. And you can tell I don't have a whole lot. So if I tried to do this 8 inches, I wouldn't have quite enough. So we're going to do it 7.5. Now I am trying to keep my points kind of in the center. So I'm taking the point of this ruler and kind of lining them up diagonally with those 2 points. Okay. All right. So I'm going to push down on that. And my ruler shifted just a little bit, but that'll be okay. And I'm going to get these 2 sides cut. Okay. Then I'm going to spin this around. And now I'm going to put these 2 lines here on the lines of my ruler, just inside of that other colored area. So that's the 7.5 inch mark. Oops. And then I moved it. I think it's cold, so my hands aren't working as good. Okay, there we go. There's a nice 7.5 inch block. Now we've got 3 others to do that too, and then I will show you how to take it over to the machine and sew these 4 together. Kind of spread that out. Don't let it get all crumpled up on us here. Okay. Okay. And that one just wants to crinkle up. Won't get an accurate cut if it does that. Okay, I'll get those other 2 cut and I'll meet you back over at the machine. All right, back over to the machine. Let's set these up. So I want the little corners to match. I don't know how much. And the 2 sides, this side and this side, are different widths, and that's okay with me. And I'm kind of putting them in opposite corners. So that one looks to be the same. Let's see here. It looks different. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. You can put them all the same, or you can put them in different places. I think I like that. Okay? You can't see that. So I like that. Now I'm going to sew those 2 together and those 2 together. Start out with my leader in place here. Okay, I'm going to match this top corner neatly. Get it under there. And you just kind of have to let the seams at this point go where they want to go. If you tried to do nesting seams on this, it would probably take you forever. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. That's the way it goes. Okay, now we're going to put these 2 together. And because we just trimmed them down, they match exactly, which is really nice. Okay, I'm going to match this end down here. Right. Okay. Now I'm not going to take them apart in the middle. I'm going to take my leader off and start it back through. Well, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to just lift these 2 up and put them together. Voila. Okay. Match this corner real nicely. Okay, and I'm going to come down here to the middle. Make sure that this seam is nesting real nice. And the nice thing about this one, the carefree part about it, is that you're not matching any other seams except for that center one. I specifically made each cut just a little bit different so that none of those none of the diagonal strips of scraps would match one another where they came together. I'll show you that in just 1 second here. There we go. So I specifically made it so that those 2 didn't match. Nothing really matches. And I did that, and then that one matched. Okay, come on. Here, look here. That does not match. But from back here, do you really notice it? You don't. And so I think that's the fun thing about this particular block and doing it this way, is you don't need to match all those seams. If you needed to match all those seams, that would be a nightmare. It would just be a whole lot of work. And you know what? I don't want to put that much work into that. So I specifically made it so they wouldn't match. Now, if you want yours to match, then you need to make all your cuts on your background fabric identical. Okay, you need to, and that would be a lot of work, but if that's the way you want to do it and you want all these things to match, that's great. Just decide on a figure that you want to come away from. Decide on a figure that you want to be away from this point right here, and always make those cuts identical. Decide on a figure you want to be away from that cut, and always make those cuts identical. And then you'll be able to match all of your strips, theoretically. All right, got a few more left to do. And then we'll get it up on our design wall and see what it looks like, and then we'll get it all pieced together. I think I've got so many of these left over that maybe we're going to do some kind of pieced border too, so that'll be really fun. Okay, so you see what I mean about the strips? Even though they don't match from this distance, you really can't tell. I think this looks spectacular. Now, let's get on to the borders. I have a good bit of this left over. As a matter of fact, I've got enough actually to make the quilt larger, but then I wouldn't have enough to do what I want to do with the border. So what I want to do with the border is I'm going to take a piece of this. I'm going to go and do it like that. So there's going to be a piece. There's going to be a piece here. And then it'll be the green again, and then there'll be another piece of this. And I think that'll look really, really neat. Now, I'm also going to use this fabric for the backing and the binding, because there's enough going on that we don't need to add another additional piece of fabric for the backing or the binding. And I've got plenty of this. This is what I'm going to use. Along that same vein, I'm also going to use this because you can't see it. And we don't need any more color going on. You're going to see some of this in some of the scrap colors, but that's okay. I just don't want to see it in the background fabric. So this is what we're going to do. All right, I'm going to get these borders done. We're going to get it put on Eleanor, and she's going to get to work. We got it done. I love how it turned out. Hi, Bullet. Love how it turned out. I think it's just a really spectacular quilt. 68 inches, 68 and a half inches square. There were 16 blocks that I made. As always, there will be a downloadable PDF on our website, and you can find a link to that in the description below. I love how the borders turned out. I think that really finished it off beautifully, and I was able to use more of that fabric. I still have a lot of it, so maybe we'll see it again. There's a cute little shamrock long arming pattern on it, and I'll get you a close-up of that. Like I said before, the back is the same as the backing fabric. Just kept it all together like that. I really love this. This was a lot of fun. This one took me a while because it took so long to make the fabric scraps come together. So it did take me a long time to do this one, but I enjoyed every single minute of it. It was a lot of fun. If you'd like to make it, please go to our website and pick up the pattern. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things that make that algorithm sing. And until next time, stay quilting. Bye.